I installed spyware on my 16-year-old daughter's phone, and what I discovered didn't just destroy our family, it destroyed everything I thought I knew about the people I loved most. I found messages from a predator grooming my child, compliments that cross lines, emotional manipulation, classic warning signs. And when I traced those messages back to their source, when I finally discovered who was behind the anonymous profile talking to my daughter, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. Because it was my husband, the man I'd been married to for 18 years. The father sitting across from us at dinner every night, David. But here's what nobody tells you about surveillance. Once you start watching, you can't unsee what you find. And sometimes, what you find isn't the truth. It's just the beginning of a nightmare you created yourself. I confronted him that night, burst into my daughter's room at midnight and caught him standing over her bed while she slept. Called him every name I could think of, made him leave our house, started planning how I'd report him to the police and watch his life burn. Except I was wrong. Not about the grooming, that was real. Not about the danger, that was real too. But I was wrong about who the monster was. And by the time I figured out the truth, 3 families were already destroyed, and I was the one who'd lit the match. Let me take you back to where this nightmare started, to the moment I became the kind of mother I swore I'd never be. My name is Rebecca, and 6 months ago, I was living what I genuinely believed was a blessed life. My husband David and I had been married for 18 years, the kind of marriage that made other couples jealous. We still held hands during movies, still surprised each other with stupid romantic gestures, still laughed at inside jokes from our dating days. Our daughter Emma had just turned 16, and she was everything we'd hoped for: smart, artistic, driven. She'd just been accepted into a prestigious summer arts program in New York, something she'd worked toward for 3 years. I taught English literature at the local high school. David ran his own consulting firm from home, something about corporate restructuring that I never fully understood, but that paid well enough for us to live comfortably in a nice suburb outside Portland. We had the brick colonial house, the golden retriever named Bentley, the family dinners 3 times a week. Picture perfect. Magazine cover material. But that perfection started cracking the day I noticed Emma's phone habits changing. It was subtle at first. She'd always been on her phone, what teenager isn't, but this was different. She'd become secretive, angling the screen away whenever I walked past, jumping slightly when I entered her room. She started taking her phone to the bathroom, sleeping with it under her pillow. The cheerful girl who used to share every detail of her day suddenly gave one-word answers. Her art, which had always been these bright, hopeful pieces full of color, turned dark. Literally dark. All blacks and grays and shadowy figures. I told David I was worried. He said it was normal teenage stuff, that we needed to give her space, that she was just growing up. He reminded me of how secretive I'd been at 16, how I'd hidden my diary from my own mother like it contained nuclear launch codes. He was right, technically, but something in my gut wouldn't let it go. Then came the night that changed everything. It was late March, around 11 p.m. I'd gone to Emma's room to tell her to get off her phone and go to sleep, the usual parent routine. When I opened her door, she was sitting on her bed, face illuminated by her screen, and she was crying. Not just tearing up, full body sobbing, the kind that shakes your shoulders and makes you gasp for air. I rushed over, asked what was wrong, tried to hug her. She shoved me away, actually shoved me, something she'd never done, and screamed at me to get out. Said I wouldn't understand, that nobody could help, that I needed to leave her alone. The look in her eyes wasn't just angry. It was terrified. I left her room shaking. David tried to go talk to her, but she'd locked her door. We could hear her crying through it for another hour. That night, lying awake in bed, I made a decision that would haunt me for the rest of my life. I decided that whatever was happening to my daughter, whatever was making her sob like her world was ending, I needed to know. I needed to protect her, even if that meant crossing lines I'd never imagined crossing. The next morning, while Emma was at school and David was in his home office on a conference call, I did something I'm still ashamed of. I took Emma's laptop, the one she'd left charging in the kitchen, and I installed monitoring software. The kind that logs every keystroke, every message, every website, every photo. The kind that gives you complete access to someone's digital life. It took me 20 minutes and a YouTube tutorial to figure out how to hide it properly. I told myself it was temporary, just until I knew she was safe. Just until I understood what was hurting my baby girl. What I didn't realize was that I just opened a door that would lead me into the darkest corners of my family's secrets. And once I stepped through, there would be no coming back. The software took 24 hours to fully sync and start reporting. That night, I barely slept. Part of me felt like a monster, violating my daughter's privacy. The other part felt like a protective mother, doing what was necessary. I kept thinking about her terrified face, her desperate sobbing, and I convinced myself I was doing the right thing. The next evening, after Emma went to sleep, I opened the monitoring dashboard on my laptop for the first time. My hands were shaking. David was downstairs watching television, oblivious. I locked our bedroom door and started reading. At first, it was exactly what I'd expected from a 16-year-old's messages. Conversations with friends about homework and boys, and stupid drama about who said what at lunch. Complaints about teachers, including some brutal ones about me that stung but weren't surprising. Normal teenage stuff. I started to feel relieved, started to think maybe David had been right about giving her space. Then I found the messages with someone saved in her phone as M. The conversation thread went back months. I started scrolling from the beginning, and what I read made my blood run cold. M wasn't a teenage friend. The language, the way they wrote, the things they talked about, this was clearly an adult. And the messages started innocently enough. Compliments about Emma's artwork, encouragement about her talent, questions about her dreams and ambitions. But as I scrolled forward through the weeks, they shifted, became more personal, more intimate. You're so mature for your age. I've never connected with someone like this before. You understand me in ways nobody else does. Classic grooming language. I taught enough mandatory reporter training sessions to recognize it instantly. My stomach turned to ice. Some predator had gotten hold of my daughter, was manipulating her, and I'd had no idea. The protective mother part of my brain that had installed the spyware started screaming that I'd been right, that I'd caught this just in time. But then I kept reading, and the ice in my stomach turned to something worse. The messages from Emma weren't what I'd expected from a victim. She wasn't uncomfortable or trying to deflect. She was enthusiastic, eager. She talked about how nobody else understood her art like M did, how her parents, David and I, were too traditional, too closed-minded. How M saw her potential when nobody else did. How M made her feel special, seen, valued in ways she'd never felt before. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely control the mouse. I scrolled faster, looking for evidence, for something concrete. There had to be plans to meet, requests for photos, something explicitly illegal that I could take to the police. Instead, what I found was worse. The most recent messages from 2 days ago, the night I'd found Emma crying, showed M telling her they needed to cool things down for a while. That the connection was becoming too intense and complicated. That they cared about her deeply, but needed space. Emma's responses were desperate, pleading, asking what she'd done wrong, promising to be better, begging M not to leave her. M had rejected her. That's why she'd been sobbing. My daughter was heartbroken over some adult predator who'd groomed her and then discarded her. I felt rage like I'd never experienced before. Pure, white-hot fury. Who was this person? How had they gotten access to my daughter? Where had they met her? The software showed me every message, but no phone number. They'd been communicating through some encrypted app I'd never heard of. I needed to know who M was. I needed to protect Emma and destroy whoever had done this to her. But I was looking at the wrong messages. And by the time I realized my mistake, I'd already set in motion something that couldn't be stopped. I spent the next hour digging deeper into Emma's digital life, looking for clues. I found M mentioned in messages with her best friend Sophie. Emma had apparently told Sophie about her connection with someone special but had been vague about details. Sophie had warned her to be careful, said it sounded sketchy. Emma had dismissed her concerns, said Sophie didn't understand real connection. I checked Emma's browser history. Nothing obvious. Some art websites, music streaming, the usual teenage time wasters. Then I noticed something strange. There were gaps. Blocks of time with no history at all, like she deliberately cleared it. She was covering her tracks. My detective mode went into overdrive. I checked the software's screenshot feature, which captured random snapshots of her screen throughout the day. Most were boring, homework documents, Instagram, Netflix. But then I found one from 3 weeks ago that made my heart stop. It was a video call screen. Emma's camera was off, but the other person's wasn't. I couldn't make out the face clearly in the small screenshot thumbnail, but I could see enough. It was definitely an adult. Male. Sitting in what looked like a home office with bookshelves behind him. Bookshelves. Home office. A sick feeling started rising in my throat. No, it couldn't be. My mind was making connections that couldn't possibly be real. I zoomed in on the screenshot, trying to make out any identifying details. The quality was terrible, pixelated from being compressed. But there was something on one of the shelves behind the person. A distinctive object, some kind of sculpture or award with an unusual angular shape. I knew that shape. I dusted around it 100 times. My legs moved before my brain fully processed what I was doing. I walked downstairs in a daze, past the living room where David was laughing at some comedy show. I went to his home office and turned on the light. There on the shelf, exactly where it always sat, was the Corporate Achievement Award from his consulting firm. The same angular crystal sculpture I'd seen in the screenshot. Same bookshelf. Same office. The world tilted sideways. I gripped the doorframe to stay upright, my vision tunneling. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be happening. My husband, the father of our child, the man I'd loved for 20 years. David. They were the same person. But here's the thing about discovering betrayal. Your first instinct isn't acceptance. It's denial. Because accepting the truth means accepting that your entire life has been a lie. I walked back upstairs mechanically, locked myself in our bedroom, and went through every single message again with new eyes. And this time, details I'd missed before jumped out like neon signs. I'm talking about work stress that matched perfectly with David's recent projects. And mentioning being in the home office during specific times when I knew David had been working from home. M's writing style. Formal, careful, the way David always texted. M's encouragement of Emma's art using the exact same phrases David had used in family conversations. How had I not seen it immediately? How had I been so blind? I checked the timestamps. Most of the messages happened during the day when Emma was at school and I was at work. They'd been talking for 5 months. 5 months of my husband having an emotional affair with our daughter, and I noticed nothing. But was it just emotional? The messages I'd read had been intense, but not explicitly sexual. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe there was some explanation. I kept digging, hoping desperately to be wrong, to find some evidence that M wasn't David. But instead, I found the photos. Emma had sent him dozens of her artwork over the months. Paintings, sketches, digital pieces. Beautiful, talented work. And M had responded with detailed, thoughtful feedback. The kind of attention and validation any artist craves. The kind of attention I'd thought David was giving her at family dinners when we talked about her art, but apparently, he'd been giving her so much more in private. Then I found photos that weren't artwork. Selfies. Emma smiling. Emma in her bedroom. Emma in the bathroom mirror. Nothing explicit. Thank God, but the captions made my skin crawl. For you. Thinking of you. Do you like it? And David, had responded with compliments that walked a careful line. Never overtly sexual, always plausibly innocent, but deeply inappropriate. Beautiful. You're radiant. I can't stop thinking about you. I ran to the bathroom and vomited. Hunched over the toilet, shaking, I couldn't process what I was seeing. This was grooming. Textbook grooming. But the groomer was her father. How did that even work psychologically? What kind of monster does that to their own child? I needed proof. Undeniable proof. Because part of me still couldn't believe it, still thought maybe I was misunderstanding somehow. I went back to the software and found the feature that let me remotely access her phone's camera and microphone. It felt like another violation piled on top of violations, but I had to know. I activated it. The screen showed Emma's dark bedroom. She was asleep. The phone was on her nightstand, charging. I could hear her steady breathing. Then I heard something else. Footsteps in the hallway outside her room. The doorknob turning slowly, carefully, like someone was trying not to make noise. The door opened. Through the phone's camera, positioned on the nightstand, I watched David enter our daughter's bedroom at midnight. Watched him stand there for a long moment, just looking at her sleeping form. Watched him take a step closer to her bed. And in that moment, I became someone capable of violence. I was down the stairs before I consciously decided to move. Burst into Emma's room and turned on the light. David jumped back from Emma's bed like I'd electrocuted him. Emma woke with a startled cry. "Get out," I said to David. My voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded cold, dead, dangerous. "Get the fuck out of this room right now." Emma was confused, disoriented, asking what was happening. David's face went through several emotions in rapid succession: shock, fear, calculation. He started to say something, but I cut him off. "I know," I said. "I know everything. Get out before I call the police right now." He left. Emma was sitting up in bed, now fully awake, looking between the doorway where David had disappeared and me standing there shaking with rage. "Mom, what's going on? Why are you?" I said. "Tell me about him." Her face went pale, then red, then crumpled. "You read my messages? How could you? How could you violate my privacy like that?" The irony of my daughter accusing me of violation while her father had been grooming her wasn't lost on me, but I pushed past it. "Emma, Em is your father. Did you know that?" Silence. Complete, absolute silence. Her expression froze, confusion flickering across her features.
"What? No."
Em is someone from the art community online who's been mentoring me. Dad doesn't even know about. She stopped. I watched her brain make the same connections I'd made hours earlier. Watched the realization hit her like a physical blow. "The office background," she whispered. Oh my God. The office background in the video calls. She'd never known. David had kept his camera off during most calls, had been careful, but had slipped up just enough. Emma had been having an emotional affair with someone she'd thought was a supportive stranger. She hadn't known it was her own father. But here's the third twist. We were both wrong about what was really happening. And the truth was so much worse than either of us imagined. Emma started hyperventilating. I held her while she broke down. Both of us crying. Both of us shattered. Downstairs, I could hear David pacing. Part of me wanted to call the police immediately, but another part, the part that had been married to this man for 18 years, needed to understand how this had happened. I got Emma calmed down enough to sleep, or at least to lie in bed with her door locked, and I went downstairs to confront my husband. David was sitting at the kitchen table, head in his hands. When I walked in, he looked up and I barely recognized him. He looked destroyed, ancient, like he'd aged 20 years in 20 minutes. "Let me explain," he started. "Explain?" My voice was shaking. "Explain how you've been grooming our daughter for 5 months? Explain what you were doing in her room at midnight? Explain how you're not a predator who deserves to rot in prison." "Rebecca, please, it's not." He stopped, ran his hands through his hair. "It's not what you think." "Then what is it, David?" "Because what I think is that you've been having an inappropriate relationship with our 16-year-old daughter. What I think is that you've been manipulating her, gaining her trust, complimenting her, making her feel special, all while pretending to be some stranger online. That's called grooming. That's called predatory behavior. What I think is that I don't know you at all." "I didn't know it was her," he said quietly. I stared at him. "What?" "The online mentoring program Emma joined 3 months ago through that arts education platform. It matches young artists with professional mentors for guidance and feedback. I signed up to be a mentor because I thought it would be fulfilling, a way to give back. We're supposed to remain anonymous to avoid any bias or outside influence. I didn't know one of my ments was Emma. The platform doesn't share real names, just usernames and ages. She was listed as Turquoise Art 16, location withheld. I was listed as Mentor M. We weren't supposed to communicate outside the platform, but we started messaging on that encrypted app because the platform's messaging feature was terrible. I try to process this. You're saying this was random? Coincidence?
Yes.
I swear to God, Rebecca. I had no idea it was her until tonight when you said something. I've been mentoring 3 young artists through the program. One of them happened to be our daughter, and I didn't know. It sounded insane, but it also made a terrible kind of sense. David had mentioned months ago that he'd joined some volunteer mentorship thing for artists, something about wanting to do more meaningful work outside his corporate job. I barely paid attention because I was busy with my own teaching. Emma had mentioned joining an online arts program around the same time, but had been vague about details, probably because she knew we'd worry about online interactions with strangers. But the messages, I said. David, I read them. You told her she was beautiful. You said you couldn't stop thinking about her. That's not mentorship. That's me being an idiot, he said, and his voice cracked. Rebecca, I swear I thought I was talking to some talented 16-year-old stranger who needed encouragement. Yes, I crossed lines. Yes, I said things that in hindsight were inappropriate. But I wasn't grooming her. I wasn't trying to start something romantic or sexual. I was responding to someone who seemed to really see me, really understand me, in ways I haven't felt understood in years. And I know how that sounds. I know how wrong it was. But I swear to God I never would have had those conversations if I'd known it was Emma. Then why were you in her room tonight? His face crumpled. Because this afternoon, Emma sent Em, a message saying she'd figured out who I was. Said she'd recognized the office from a screenshot. Said she felt betrayed and disgusted and never wanted to hear from me again. I've been panicking all evening, trying to figure out what to do. I went to her room because I needed to see her, to make sure she was okay. I wasn't going to wake her up. I wasn't going to do anything. I just needed to see that my daughter was okay after learning that her online mentor was her father. But here's what happens when your world implodes. You start questioning everything. Every truth becomes suspect. Every explanation could be another lie. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him so badly. Because the alternative, that my husband had knowingly groomed our daughter, was too horrific to accept. But I'd spent hours reading those messages. I'd seen the progression, the escalation. Even if he truly hadn't known it was Emma, he'd still developed an inappropriate emotional connection with someone he believed was a teenage girl. You had an emotional affair with a 16-year-old, I said flatly. Even if you didn't know it was Emma, David, you had an inappropriate relationship with a child. I know. His voice was barely a whisper. I know, and I've been sick about it for weeks. I knew I was crossing lines. I knew I should end it. But she, turquoise art, Emma, whoever, she made me feel valued in ways I haven't felt in years. Do you know how long it's been since someone looked at me like I mattered? Since someone was excited to hear from me? You and I, Rebecca, we've been going through the motions for years. We're polite strangers who happen to share a house and a daughter. And I'm not blaming you. I'm not saying it's your fault. But when this young artist started really listening to me, really caring about what I thought, I let myself get attached. And I know that's fucked up. I know that makes me a bad person. But I swear I never wanted anything sexual. I never tried to meet up. I was just lonely. His words hit me like physical blows because they contained truth I'd been avoiding. Our marriage had become comfortable, routine, distant. We were partners in managing a household, but not really connected anymore. When had we stopped being in love and started just coexisting? But that didn't excuse what he'd done. Loneliness didn't justify emotional infidelity with a child, even unknowingly. You need to leave, I said. Tonight. Now. Get some things and go to a hotel. I need time to think, and Emma needs space from you. He nodded, defeated. Are you going to call the police? I didn't know. Part of me screamed that I should. He'd admitted to inappropriate contact with a minor, even if he claimed ignorance about her identity. But another part of me, the part that still loved the man I'd thought he was, hesitated. If I reported him, his life would be destroyed. His career, his reputation, everything. Emma would be dragged through investigations and possibly court. Our family would become public spectacle. I don't know, I said honestly. Just leave. He left. I heard him packing upstairs, heard him pause outside Emma's door for a long moment, heard him finally go.
The front door closed.
His car started. And then I was alone in the house with my traumatized daughter and the wreckage of everything I'd thought was true. But the story doesn't end with the truth coming out. It ends with what you discover when you keep digging. I spent the rest of that night reading and rereading those messages, trying to make sense of everything. And the more I read, the more something bothered me. Details that didn't quite add up. The platform David mentioned, I looked it up. It did exist. It did match mentors with young artists. And it did keep identities anonymous initially. His story checked out. But Emma's messages to M started months before she joined that platform. I checked the dates carefully. The first message was from 5 months ago. Emma joined the mentorship program 3 months ago. The timeline didn't match. Unless David was lying about when he joined the program. Or unless there were 2 different sets of conversations I hadn't found yet. I checked Emma's phone more carefully, looking for other messaging apps, other accounts. Found nothing. The conversation with M was the only one that seemed inappropriate. Then I noticed something strange. The conversation thread with M had a weird gap. Messages from 5 months ago, then nothing for about 6 weeks, then messages picking back up for months ago, and continuing regularly until 2 days ago. What happened during that gap? I spent hours going through every screenshot the spyware had captured, looking for clues. Found one from the gap period, a screenshot showing Emma in a conversation with someone, but it was a different app. Something called Secure Chat. I'd never heard of it. I searched Emma's phone for Secure Chat. It wasn't installed anymore. She must have deleted it at some point. Why delete one app but keep the encrypted app she'd been using with them? And that's when I realized I'd been looking at the wrong story the entire time that I woke Emma up at 5 in the morning. She looked terrible, eyes swollen from crying, hair a mess. But she needed to answer my questions. The app Secure Chat, I said. You used to have it on your phone. Who were you talking to on there? She looked confused. Secure Chat? Wait. You mean that app Sophie told me to download? What about Sophie? Emma rubbed her eyes. Like 6 months ago, Sophie was going through something with her older brother. He was being really creepy, making comments about her body and stuff. She wanted to talk to someone about it without her parents finding out, so she asked me to download this app that deletes messages automatically. We talked about it for a few weeks until her brother went to college. Then I deleted the app because it felt sketchy. 6 months ago, right around when the M messages started. Emma, did you ever mention this to anyone else? Did you tell anyone what Sophie was dealing with? Yeah. I made a post about it on this anonymous advice forum I used to use, asking how to help a friend who was dealing with family stuff. Some people gave me advice, told me to be supportive. One person sent me a private message saying they'd been through something similar and offered to talk if my friend needed someone. Do you remember the username of the person who messaged you? She thought for a moment. Something with an M? Maybe Mentor Mike or Mindful M or... I don't remember exactly. Why? My heart was pounding. Emma, did you give this person Sophie's contact information? No, but...
She paused.
I told them about the situation in more detail in private messages. Described Sophie's brother, what he was doing. They asked questions about Sophie, her age, what school she went to, stuff like that. I thought they were just trying to give better advice. And then what happened? And then a few days later, Sophie told me someone had reached out to her through the advice forum offering support. She started talking to them. I think that's who suggested Secure Chat. The pieces were falling into place, but they were forming a picture I hadn't expected. Emma, I need you to contact Sophie right now. I need to know if she ever figured out who she was talking to on Secure Chat. Emma looked scared but pulled out her phone. Sent a message. We waited. It was barely past 5 a.m., but apparently Sophie was awake because she responded immediately. The conversation that followed made my blood run cold. Sophie told Emma she'd eventually figured out the person she'd been talking to on Secure Chat was someone pretending to be a peer counselor, but who was actually trying to manipulate her. She'd gotten suspicious and reverse searched an image they'd sent her. It led to a profile. A real person's profile. Someone local. Someone Sophie recognized. Someone from our community. And it wasn't David. Because sometimes the monster isn't who you think it is. Sometimes you're so busy looking at the obvious suspect that you miss the real predator standing right beside you. I read Sophie's messages to Emma with shaking hands. The person who'd been targeting Sophie was named Marcus Brighton. I knew that name. He was a parent at Emma's school. His daughter was in Emma's class. I'd met him at school events, parent-teacher conferences. He seemed normal, friendly, professional. He worked in tech, security systems specifically. Emma, I said slowly, when you posted on that advice forum, did you use any identifying information about yourself?
No.
It's anonymous. Just a username. What was your username? Turquoise Dreams. Because of my art. Turquoise Dreams. Turquoise art. Close enough that someone could make the connection. I grabbed my laptop and started searching. Found Marcus Brighton's professional profile. He ran a company that specialized in digital monitoring and security. The kind of work that would give him tools to track people online, to connect anonymous usernames to real identities, to insert himself into vulnerable situations. The kind of person who could identify a teenage girl posting about helping her friend with family issues, who could reach out offering support, who could manipulate that girl into downloading a secure messaging app, who could use information from those conversations to target the friend. And when Sophie got suspicious and stopped talking to him, he didn't stop. He'd already identified Emma as a potential target. Knew she was artistic, knew she was close to Sophie, knew she was vulnerable. So he created a new identity. Found out Emma had joined an online mentorship program. Figured out how to position himself as her mentor through that program, probably hacked or manipulated the matching system. Pretended to be mentor-em. Started building trust again, but more carefully this time. When Emma started catching feelings, developing emotional attachment, he'd suddenly backed off. Made her feel rejected, desperate. Because that's what predators do. They create emotional dependency, then withdraw to increase desperation. And if I hadn't installed that spyware, if I hadn't discovered the messages when I did, he would have eventually come back into Emma's life. Would have offered comfort. Would have suggested meeting in person. David wasn't the predator. He'd been telling the truth about the coincidence, about not knowing his mentee was his daughter. But someone else had been orchestrating the whole thing. Someone who'd been watching Emma, targeting her, grooming her through multiple identities. But here's the final twist that keeps me up at night. I almost destroyed my family chasing the wrong person while the real monster remained free. I did call the police, but not on David. I gave them everything I had on Marcus Brighton, including the connections between him and Sophie, the messaging timelines, his professional background that would allow him to do exactly what I suspected. The investigation took weeks. During that time, David stayed in a hotel, Emma went to therapy, and I lived in a state of paranoid terror that I'd endangered my daughter by installing spyware that could potentially be traced back to her devices, making her even more vulnerable to Brighton if he discovered it. The police found more than we'd imagined. Marcus Brighton had been targeting vulnerable teenagers for years. They found encrypted files on his computers with information on dozens of girls, their social media accounts, their patterns, their vulnerabilities. Emma and Sophie were far from his only victims. Some of the girls he'd targeted had met with him in person. Some had disappeared from the online forums entirely, and the police were investigating whether he'd moved beyond digital manipulation into physical assault. He was arrested, charged with multiple counts of exploitation of minors, attempted enticement, unlawful surveillance. His wife claimed she'd had no idea. His daughter, Emma's classmate, had to switch schools because of the harassment. David came home. We went to marriage counseling. He'd been telling the truth about the coincidence, about not knowing Emma was his mentee. But he'd still crossed lines, still had inappropriate conversations with someone he believed was a teenage girl. We're working through that. Some days I can look at him. Some days I can't. Emma's in intensive therapy. She feels violated on multiple levels, by Brighton's manipulation, by my spyware, by the coincidental emotional connection with her father, by her own feelings that she can't untangle. She's not going to the New York Arts program this summer. She barely paints anymore. Sophie's family moved away. They blamed me, somehow, for not recognizing the danger sooner, for not protecting their daughter when I'd been so focused on protecting my own. And me? I live with the knowledge that my attempt to protect my daughter almost destroyed her in a completely different way. If I'd confronted David that first night, if I'd gone to the police immediately with my certainty that he was the predator, Emma would have been interviewed, investigated, traumatized further. David's life would have been destroyed for something he didn't intentionally do. Our family would have imploded over a false accusation while the real predator continued operating. But I also can't shake the feeling that if I hadn't installed that spyware, if I hadn't invaded Emma's privacy, Marcus Brighton might have successfully isolated her completely. Might have moved from emotional manipulation to physical danger. Might have hurt her in ways that therapy can't fix. So here's the question that haunts me every single day. Was I a good mother who saved her daughter, or a violating monster who just happened to catch a different monster by accident? I don't have an answer. Maybe there isn't one. Maybe the truth is that parenting in the digital age means making impossible choices between trust and protection, privacy and safety. Maybe the truth is that surveillance saved my daughter, but cost her something else equally valuable. Her sense of security, her ability to trust that her private thoughts are her own. The spyware is deleted now, but I'll never know if Emma's truly okay or just pretending because she knows I might be watching. I'll never know if David's really forgiven me for suspecting him, or if our marriage is just a performance of forgiveness. And late at night, I still wonder, if I could go back, knowing what I know now, would I still install that software? Would I still violate my daughter's privacy to save her from a danger I didn't understand? I think I would. And that's what haunts me most of all. Because the version of me who would make that choice again is the same version who became capable of destroying everything I loved to protect it. And I'm not sure which is worse. The me who would have remained ignorant and trusting while my daughter was groomed, or the me who exists now, forever questioning every smile, every reassurance, every moment of apparent happiness, wondering if it's real or just another lie I haven't uncovered yet. They say the truth will set you free. But nobody mentions that sometimes the truth just replaces one prison with another. Every story leaves a mark. If this one touched you, let the telling tree grow by your like and subscribe.